Convinced? Hogwash, say opponents. Or perhaps I should say Hogwarts, because stand by, Harry Potter fans, you may spot some famous faces on board as we whiz on to the film made by Warwickshire's Jerry Marshall. Well, he's the chair of a coalition of groups determined to derail High Speed 2.
HS2 costs an arm and a leg, and it's not all it's cracked up to be. I'm not alone. Around the country, groups, business people and MPs across the political spectrum have been outspoken in their criticism. In Europe, high-speed rail lines are closing or going bankrupt. The high-speed line in Kent costs the taxpayer billions and is only attracting a third of the passengers they originally predicted. I'm a businessman and I can see that the case for this just doesn't stack up. It's a total white elephant and there are much better alternatives. The problem is HS2 doesn't do what it says on the tin for most Midlands travellers. High speed isn't high speed if your door-to-door journey time is slower. Now you can get from Coventry to London in under an hour, but if the new high-speed rail plans go ahead, it'll take longer. HS2 Limited say that these services are going to get cut back. So for Coventrians to use HS2, they're going to have to get one train to Birmingham International, another train to the HS2 interchange, and then another train to London. What's the sense in that? But Coventry's not the only problem. And for those arriving here at the proposed HS2 station in Curzon, if you want to go somewhere else in the region, you've got to take yourself and all your luggage off to New Street. Okay, so it is 10:15 and I'm going to see if I can find where New Street Station is. Trying to get to New Street, am I going the right way? So finally, here we are at New Street Station, and I reckon it's taken me 18 or 20 minutes. So it seems ludicrous that I should be whizzed off to Curzon Street at 250 miles an hour and then spend 20 minutes walking at 3 miles an hour, and it's probably in the rain. I think the real problem with HS2, though, is the cost. In this Parliament alone, the link will cost us nearly £1 billion just on planning. That money is vital for frontline services. Do you think HS2 is a good investment?
No, and to spend that amount of money on the planning is barking mad. In Coventry's case, we were supposed to get 350 million, which would have rebuilt or reinvented virtually every secondary school in the city and some primary schools. A far better use of public money than destroying the green belt and putting train lines where most people don't think they're necessary. If you want HS2, it'll cost well over £1,000. In fact, the Taxpayers Alliance say it'll cost £1,700 for every household in the UK. That is an expensive ticket. So what do the good people of Coventry think? Do you think that would be good value then, to spend £1,700 of your money on it? Every household, £1,700. That's quite a lot. £1,700 per household, and you can have a wonderful system from London to Birmingham. There's the ticket. £1,700 per person. Oh my God! Is that a bargain?
Absolutely not. People can have other options to use for commuting from here to London, or from Birmingham to London, other than the high-speed rail. So instead of them putting the money into the high-speed rail, they can put it in, community centres and children care.
She's right. Going ahead with high speed will mean cutting vital lifelines for some of the poorest and most vulnerable. Meanwhile, you and I are coughing up to pay for what the former Transport Secretary admits is a service for a wealthy minority.
First uncomfortable fact, perhaps number one, is that the railway is already relatively a rich man's toy, the whole railway. People who use the railway, on average, have significantly higher incomes than the population as a whole. Simple fact.
HS2 is totally the wrong priority. But if the project was going to create jobs and growth in the Midlands, it might be a price worth paying. We certainly need something to get us out of this mess. So, Geoffrey, we really need jobs and growth.
You're kidding. Look at it all. That's pawnbrokers there.
Absolutely.
Closed down there, closed down there. I mean, it's a disaster. And now we're going to turn it into even more of a backwater with HS2.
The Department for Transport says HS2 will create 40,000 new jobs. Good news? No. The fact is that most of these won't be new jobs, just transfers of existing jobs. And the Department for Transport says 70% of the jobs will be in London, not in the Midlands. Some say HS2 will actually reduce the number of jobs.
Take here, for example, for Coventry and Birmingham to benefit in the short term, when we need investment because of the overall economic situation, which is in dire straits at the moment, the best thing is to four-track the Coventry-Birmingham stretch.
Right.
Now, that would give work immediately, relieve the pressure points on the West Coast main line, and give benefits in every respect: Coventry, Birmingham, work, employment, and connectivity. But it's got to be effective, and this is anything but effective, don't you see? The point is here that we're just investing in a narrow stretch of high-speed motorway between certain select premium points that aren't going to help the rest of the country at all.
So HS2 is not going to boost productivity, growth or jobs in the Midlands. But there's another area where I think we're being misled, and that's capacity. We're told we're about to run out of space on the West Coast main line that links London to Glasgow via Birmingham. If you've ever tried to get on the 703 from Euston to the Midlands, you might agree. But images like this tell a false story.
There's a capacity problem at some times of days. For example, the trains after 7 o'clock in the evening are packed to the gunwales. But that's not to do with fundamental capacity, it's to do with fares. It's the time when the off-peak fares become available. So earlier in the evening, actually probably when people would more prefer to travel, the trains are by no means full, because at that time, as Philip Hammond, the previous Secretary of State, said, the fares are eye-wateringly expensive.
We don't need a whole new line just to improve the existing one. Simply increasing the number of standard class carriages from 5 to 9 doubles the number of seats. And we can treble the number of seats if we sort out 4 or 5 bottlenecks. Simple.
The demand that government forecast to support HS2 can be met on the existing route without building a new railway. And I think there are better things to do with the money.
HS2 will be a disaster for the nation's finances, but there is another cost. 51 ancient woodlands, wildlife and areas of outstanding natural beauty would all be lost, all set to be ploughed up by this flawed scheme. We need efficient transport systems, but not at the expense of the environment. So what in the end will be more valuable to our children and our grandchildren? Will it be a slightly faster journey to London or our fast disappearing areas of tranquil countryside? For the really green option, technology holds the key. I can link up with Sutton Coldfield-born film stars James and Oliver Phelps in Sydney without having to leave my office. The boys played the Weasley twins in all the Harry Potter films, and we can catch up whilst they're halfway around the world. And there's no magic involved.
Everything seems to be either a PDF file or an attachment to something. Unless you actually physically need to hold it in your hand, there's no real need to leave the office anymore.
Both boys agree with me that the money it'll cost is better spent elsewhere. Hey, it's great to talk to these guys, but from where I'm sitting, high-speed broadband will be much more useful than high-speed rail. We need to be much more visionary than squandering billions on a souped-up version of Victorian technology. With no capacity crunch for decades, we've got time to sort out the real rail priorities and get the next stage right. So ask yourself this: do you want the government to spend £1,700 of your money on a single rail line with a dodgy business case, or could the money be better spent? Write your MP and ask them to kill this turkey before Christmas.